The man sat on the cold concrete steps with his back curved by exhaustion, breaking a sandwich in half with hands that had learned to survive more than they had learned to hope, unaware that a single quiet act of kindness was about to collide with a destiny far bigger than his own. In that fragile moment, between hunger and compassion, between loss and endurance, fate was already standing a few steps behind him, watching silently, waiting to reveal itself. Before the story unfolds any further, if you believe in kindness that appears when life feels unfair, in second chances that arrive without warning, and in small moments that can change everything, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that may be hurting right now. Michael Carter had not planned to be a single father. Life had forced that role upon him when his wife passed away 3 years earlier, leaving him with a broken heart, unpaid bills, and a little boy whose bedtime questions still pierced his soul. Each morning Michael woke up before sunrise, not because he was ambitious, but because survival demanded it. He worked temporary jobs whenever he could find them, carried rejection like a shadow, and learned to stretch a few dollars into meals that barely filled his stomach. That afternoon, after another job interview that ended with polite smiles and silent rejection, he sat on the courthouse steps to gather himself before returning home to his son with another apology hidden behind a forced smile. In his paper bag was a single sandwich, plain and modest, meant to be split between dinner and tomorrow's breakfast. As he unwrapped it, he noticed a young girl sitting a few steps away, her shoulders hunched, eyes distant, and fingers nervously twisting the hem of her sweater. She was too well dressed to be homeless, yet too lonely to belong. Her eyes followed the sandwich not with greed, but with a quiet sadness that felt heavier than hunger. Michael recognized that look instantly. It was the same look his son had worn the night he asked if things would ever be normal again. Without thinking, Michael tore the sandwich in half. He shifted closer and gently placed one half near the girl, offering not pity, but presence. He did not ask questions or expect gratitude. He simply sat there, sharing what little he had, letting silence do what words could not. The girl accepted the food slowly, her guarded expression softening into something fragile and grateful. In that moment, two broken worlds briefly leaned against each other, finding warmth in a place neither expected. What Michael did not know was that behind them, standing near the iron railing at the top of the steps, was Eleanor Whitmore. She was the CEO of Whitmore Financial Group, a woman whose name commanded boardrooms and headlines, whose decisions shaped markets and livelihoods. Power had taught her control, but life had taught her fear. Her daughter Lily had disappeared from their driver just an hour earlier after a panic attack triggered by pressure Eleanor never realized she was placing on her. Eleanor had searched the streets in terror, her heels aching, her phone forgotten in her hand, until she saw a familiar figure on the steps below. What stopped Eleanor in her tracks was not just finding her daughter safe, but seeing her seated beside a stranger who looked as worn as the city itself, sharing food meant for survival. Eleanor watched as Lily ate slowly, listened intently, and for the first time in weeks, looked at peace. In that instant, Eleanor felt something unfamiliar crack through her carefully built armor. She saw the exhaustion in Michael's face, the dignity in his posture, and the kindness in his sacrifice. This was not charity. This was humanity. Eleanor stayed where she was, afraid to interrupt the fragile bubble forming between them. She realized how often she had tried to fix Lily's sadness with money, tutors, schedules, and pressure, never stopping to understand that what her daughter needed was simplicity, warmth, and to be seen. Watching Michael, Eleanor understood how little she truly knew about struggle, and how much she had taken for granted. As minutes passed, Lily finished the sandwich and leaned slightly closer to Michael, comforted by his quiet presence. When Eleanor finally stepped forward, the sound of her heels echoed sharply against the steps, breaking the moment. Michael looked up, startled, immediately pulling back as reality rushed in. He assumed she was upset, that he had crossed a boundary, that kindness had once again come with consequences. Years of disappointment had trained him to expect blame, not gratitude. But Eleanor did not scold him. She did not accuse him. She stood there, holding her breath, overwhelmed by the sight of a stranger who had given her daughter what all her power could not. She felt shame rise in her chest, followed by respect, and then something even deeper, gratitude mixed with humility. Life did not change in a dramatic instant for Michael. There were no fireworks or instant miracles. But Eleanor did not forget him. She asked his name, learned his story, and listened without judgment. Days later, Michael received a call he almost ignored, thinking it was another rejection. Instead, it was an opportunity. Not a handout, but a chance. Eleanor offered him a position within her company's community outreach division, recognizing not his resume, but his character, his empathy, and his resilience. Michael's world slowly began to shift. He found stability, not just financially, but emotionally. He returned home each evening with renewed strength, able to promise his son something he had not dared to before, that tomorrow could be better. Lily, too, changed. She spent time volunteering, learning the value of compassion beyond privilege, guided by the quiet example of a man who once shared half a sandwich on cold stone steps. Months later, Michael often thought about that afternoon, about how close he had come to choosing hunger over kindness, fear over generosity. He realized that the smallest choices often carry the greatest weight. That kindness does not ask who is watching, because its true power lies in sincerity, not recognition. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness still exists even in the hardest moments, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and let us know by engaging with the channel. Your support keeps these stories alive and reaching those who may feel unseen. Before the ending, we have one special request for you. Please comment below with a single word that describes how this story made you feel, because your words might help someone else feel less alone. Michael never became rich in the way the world measures success, but he became wealthy in ways that mattered. He learned that even when life strips you of comfort, it can never take away your ability to be kind. And sometimes, the moment you choose to share what little you have, not knowing who is watching, is the moment your life begins to change forever.